You know, for a series of videos about the Underground, it occurs to me that I don't talk a lot about the actual trains. Today I'm going to make an exception to that unwritten rule, and I am going to talk about the 1938 stock. Now, I realise it's colossally nerdy to have a favourite class of tube train, but the 1938 stock is mine, and I am colossally nerdy. The 1938 stock is a design classic. It's practical and well thought out, with understated Art Deco styling throughout. More than that, though, it's the ancestor of all modern tube trains. So in the 1920s and 30s, the basic train used on all deep-level lines was the standard stock. It was a pretty decent kind of train. You might say it was up to standard, haha. But it wasn't without its flaws. The most obvious issue was that the control equipment was kept in a large compartment behind the driver's cab, which took up a lot of space. In the 1930s, London Transport embarked on the New Works programme. This involved upgrading, rearranging and extending the Underground, and for that, new trains were needed. By way of experiment, they ordered some trains which were known as the 1935 stock. The most visually striking aspect of these prototype trains was that the first 3 units were streamlined. Streamlining was very popular on the main lines at this time, so it's not surprising that the Underground decided to play with the concept. The rest were flat-fronted, like the standard stock, with only very understated streamlining. From a practical point of view, the most obvious difference between the 35 stock and what had come before was that the equipment was all under the floor. This freed up a lot of space and allowed extra doors to be put in. In fact, per train, an entire carriage's worth of space could be gained by this innovation. Streamlining never caught on, and some of the cars found themselves used as air raid shelters at Piccadilly line depots. But despite these and other teething troubles, the basic concept of these new modern, roomy trains was a go. After tweaking the design, the 1938 stock was ready to roll. The trains were first introduced in, 1938, and were an immediate success. A new batch was built in 1953, and the fleet was strengthened with conversions from 1935 and standard stock. The trains were used on the Northern, Piccadilly, Bakerloo and Central lines, and even saw use on the subsurface East London line. So successful was the design that the last ones weren't withdrawn until 1988, which is a pretty remarkable career for an intensely used train. Some of them even wound up replacing more modern trains on the Northern line, which had become life expired. But even the end of the 1938 stock services on the Underground wasn't the end for these venerable trains. The Island line on the Isle of Wight took several sets off London Transport's hands, needing trains low enough to fit through the restricted tunnels at Ryde. At the time of writing, these are still in service, making for a remarkable 81-year career in revenue-earning service. 2 more carriages ended up even further afield, on the Alderney Railway in the Channel Islands. Unfortunately, the sea breezes weren't kind and the coaches rusted away. The story of the 1938 stock may finally be coming to a close, with new trains ordered for the Isle of Wight in the form of the Class 484s. These are converted from old District Line trains, continuing the tradition of using old Underground units, and are due in service from 2020. If you'd like to see some for yourself and the Isle of Wight is a bit far, or you're watching this video after the trains on the Isle of Wight have been withdrawn, there's a carriage at the London Transport Museum, and a whole set at the Museum Depot in Acton. So who knows, maybe the story isn't quite over yet. Hi all, hope you enjoyed this semi-streamlined episode of Tales from the Tube. Would you like to hear more about the different types of train on the Underground? Let me know in the comments section. And please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and all those other wonderful things that help the channel. And I'll see you soon for another Tale from the Tube.